How is everybody doing? Welcome back to another live stream today on this Wednesday, or Wednesday for me, it's Tuesday for 90% of you guys probably. We're here to discuss the state of the crypto market, and I'm going to be telling you exactly what I believe is going on with Bitcoin and crypto, as we're seeing quite a lot of price compression here on Bitcoin. There hasn't been an awful amount of volatility in the last 24 hours or even 48 hours, to be honest with you. But we're going to be discussing the next potential move for Bitcoin, where I see us going, as we have been compressing in kind of like a triangle pattern on Bitcoin on the 4-hour. And I'm also going to be updating you guys on my top altcoins, where I see them going, and the usual stuff. So smash the likes up on the live stream, and yeah, we'll get straight into the market. So, Bitcoin, as you can see, clearly compressing. We've been in this kind of compressing state since we had that major crash. And, usually after a major crash, the dust settles, you calm down a little bit, and the volatility drops down a little bit, right? And that's exactly what's been happening here on Bitcoin during the last few days. We know that, right? But, I've been saying that I'm not overly bullish here in the short term, but long term I'm super bullish, because these prices that we're getting on altcoins are just insane discounts. We're able to stack high quality altcoins at incredible discounts, and that's why I'm so bullish at the moment. I'm not saying that there's no chance that we can go slightly lower. In fact, I think it's entirely plausible that Bitcoin goes slightly lower and we form some form of a, bullish divergence. In fact, I would want that to happen. If we can form a bullish divergence on Bitcoin, that would be my ideal scenario, because if you want a sustained bounce for weeks, you need a bullish divergence. Well, you don't need it, but it increases the likelihood of a sustained bounce if we can get some sort of daily bullish div. If we look at Bitcoin on the daily, it does kind of look like some form of an M pattern here. You have this major rally, then you come down, then we try and retest the previous high, reject, and it looks like we are probably going to come back down again, guys. That's my brutal opinion. But if we are to come back down, hopefully we would create a bullish div on the RSI, and I'll go over this again for those of you who don't know what a bullish div is. But basically, it is where the price action makes a lower low and the RSI ends up making a higher low. That is what a bullish divergence is. And if we zoom in here, we can see how low the RSI actually went during this recent flash crash. The RSI went all the way down to 15, an insanely oversold daily RSI. You can see if we zoom back, the RSI on the daily hasn't been this low since 2020. Right, since like the 2020 crash. That was the last time the RSI was so low. So extremely oversold RSI. Now, yeah, maybe we're going to go lower in price, but not go lower in terms of the RSI. And that would create a bullish div. So maybe Bitcoin does actually have a breakdown here, and we come down and hit the 200-week moving average to the T. And then that way, the RSI comes a little bit lower, we create that bullish div, and then we bounce from there. That would be the ideal scenario for me in terms of Bitcoin. I think it's actually more bullish if we go slightly lower here, so then we can go higher in a more sustained manner for the rest of the year. So that's my take on the market. If we zoom out and we look at the big moving averages on Bitcoin, such as the 200-week moving average, you can see that it is sat right now at around $58,000. So a move down to $58,000 on Bitcoin for me would in fact be bullish. It would not be bearish, because not only will we go down and hit that 200-week moving average and actually confirm a hit, that way there's no one denying it, but we will also most likely create a bullish div on the RSI, which will allow for more confirmation for people that this is a potential bottom, right? Because as of right now, there's not a great deal of confirmation for people to say this is the bottom, other than the fact we came down a lot, we got very oversold. There hasn't been any real reversal signal to say, yeah, that's absolutely the bottom, now we can pile in with our cash. If we get a bullish div and we hit the 200-week on the dot, then for me that's a lot more bullish. So yeah, I'm just gonna check that my stream is all running good because I'm using a new software, as I mentioned earlier. Just want to make sure everything's up and running and we're looking fine. I think we are. Please, guys, all I ask from you is firstly, hit the likes, and secondly, if there's any issues with the stream, let me know, because I am using a new setup, new camera, everything's new. So hopefully, you know, we're running smoothly. So let's go through some of the comments, see what you guys are saying in the chat, because we have some controversial opinions in the chat. Crypto Goat says Casper is dead, or looks dead. Casper looks dead according to Crypto Goat. I completely disagree with you in terms of, you know, fundamentally speaking, there's no sign if you look at the chart that it's dead. Now, yes, it's had a pretty brutal drop over the last few years, but if you actually look at the chart and don't just look at how much it's down, you'll see that it's actually respecting structure very nicely. If you pull up the weekly chart on Casper, you'll see that it's respecting this structure very, very nicely. So this does not look like a dead chart to me. I don't know what chart you're looking at, but this does not look like a dead chart to me. This looks like a chart that's just in a bear market, and it's eventually going to have a major breakout. That's how it looks to me. So please tell me, what exactly are you seeing in Casper that makes you think it looks dead? Because all I'm seeing is an altcoin that's been in a bear market, and it's actually looking okay compared to its Bitcoin pair. It's not dumping too hardly to Bitcoin. So what I'm seeing with Casper is actually very bullish. It's respecting a massive wedge. It's compressing in price. The dumps are getting less brutal. And it's just waiting for that breakout move. And when it has that breakout move, I think Casper's going to rally at least to 30 cents when it has that breakout move. I think it's going to have a crazy rally. And I've always been quite conservative in terms of the Casper community. I've always been seen as more of the conservative Casper YouTuber. You know, there was YouTubers out there such as Crypto Galaxy promising $20 Casper, $25 Casper, crazy targets like that. And I was always kind of the voice of reason, saying, you know, in a good bull run, it could go to $1. But my target on Casper was always 30 cents. For a long time, that was my target. Now, that didn't get hit. I'll admit that did not get hit in 2025. I was wrong, but I think I look like less of an idiot saying I think it can go to 30 cents than someone saying it could go to $20, $40, $50, which a lot of people online were saying, by the way. So I've always been seen as more of a realist of Casper, but I am very bullish when it breaks out. I mean, right now I'm bullish just because these are cheap prices, but until we get that confirmed breakout, yes, it's still in a downtrend, but it doesn't look dead. Like, that's just rage baiting if you're saying it looks dead. You're just rage baiting at that point because there's no evidence that it's dead. Yeah, smash up the likes on the stream. Absolutely, Apex. Let's try and, you know, get a good few hundred likes. That would be amazing. Am I worried at all at the unlocks for XPL? So, unlocks can be, obviously, negative catalysts. I've seen it happen quite a few times with certain alts. But, I'm not super concerned, to be honest with you. Let's just check the exact unlock figures here. So February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Okay, so yeah, you're right. There is a huge one in September. I completely forgot about that. So thank you for reminding me. I knew there was a big unlock, but I couldn't remember exactly when it was. But thank you for reminding me. So in September, there is a big unlock. But that's in September. I mean, if you want, you could just sell in August and buy back in after that if it causes a big dump, right? So we've got time to think about this. But yeah, that is a pretty big unlock. So maybe there will be some selling pressure just before it and just after it. But, you know, I've seen unlocks go completely different ways. I've seen massive unlocks on projects like Sui do nothing. And then I've seen big unlocks on certain projects absolutely destroy the price. So unlocks can go either way. It's a bit of a tricky one to navigate sometimes, and I don't typically sell out of a position just because there's going to be an unlock. But I'll do some deeper research and try and see exactly who's getting this money. So it seems to be the ecosystem growth, very small amount of it, investors and the team. So it's mainly investors and the team getting the money. This is quite a big unlock for the team. So maybe there's going to be some selling pressure for sure. But that will be a buying opportunity, right? And if you've got a long-term vision, then you can just double down and buy more when this happens. You know, all it is very basic. It's supply and demand. All an unlock is supply and demand. Obviously, they're adding new supply to the market. Will the demand outweigh the supply? Or will the supply outweigh the demand? If the supply outweighs the demand, then the price will go down. It's very basic. But yeah, thanks for letting me know. I'll keep a note on it. Stream is perfect, says Mr. Koshi. Appreciate that. I'm glad that the stream is looking fine. You know, there's nothing worse than having streaming issues because I want to get my message out, and if the mic's having issues or whatever, it's just so frustrating. What's my realistic price prediction for Casper? Depends what time frame we're talking here, right? It's very hard to put times on things because it could just keep staying in this kind of compressing state for the rest of the year. I mean, the apex of this is like July. So it is hard to put prices on, but all I'll say is when it does finally break through this resistance, I think it's going to shoot up to 30 cents. And I think it's going to be a very parabolic kind of move. It's going to be very similar to the type of move it did in 2023. You know, it's not going to be this slow move. It's going to be very parabolic, and sideliners are going to be left behind, and loads of people are going to be jumping in with FOMO. You know, because this is exactly what happens to loads of cryptos. It's exactly what happened to Monero just recently. It's exactly what happened to, you know, Ethereum. It's exactly what happened to XRP that time. And you just don't know when it's going to happen, right? Like, I don't know if you guys remember when XRP actually won the lawsuit, it didn't really pump. In fact, it dumped after the news came out. But then when Gary Gensler stepped down, it exploded. It had that major breakout. So you don't always know when it's going to break out. You might think, like, let's just say Casper was to get listed on Binance. Everyone might think that's going to be the event to make it break out. But that might just be a sell the news. And then a month later, some other news comes out. Maybe it gets listed on Coinbase, and that's the event to pump it. So you don't always know what the event's going to be that's going to trigger the pump. You just know at some point there's going to be a pump. You know, people always try and overthink things in markets, and it's a real problem when people overthink, overanalyze. They need an answer for everything. They need to know exactly why something's going to pump, when it's going to pump, and all of this. Guys, don't stress yourselves out too much. You know, treating investing that way is just going to spike your cortisol, and you're just going to be constantly stressed because you need an answer for everything. But sometimes you just need to sit back, humble yourself, and know you're invested in a strong asset. When is it going to pump? Who knows? Might be in 2 months, might be in 2 years. And if you're too impatient where you need the money now, then crypto is probably not for you, and investing probably isn't for you. Maybe the casino is better. You'll probably lose your money there anyway, but with that type of mindset, you deserve to lose your money. That's the brutal reality. If you're too impatient that you can't wait a year or 2 years to make life-changing money, then you deserve to lose your money. That's my honest, humble opinion. The market should humble you, as it does to everyone at some point in your investment journey. But yeah, a perfect example of what I'm talking about is XRP. So XRP, out of nowhere, just skyrocketed. It broke the resistance out of nowhere. And that was after many failed attempts, many fake outs, right? So when the news actually came out that they won the case, it just went straight back down. Straight back down, did nothing. And all the YouTubers were saying, whenever XRP wins the case, it's going to skyrocket, right? That's what they were all saying. That's what people are saying. Whenever XRP wins a lawsuit, the price is going to go to $10 on all these crazy targets. And it didn't happen. But then another event happened and it sent it. You got this God candle. So quite often people overanalyze, overthink things, and then they get wrecked because of that. You know, it's happened to me in the past as well. Whenever it seems like I'm bashing other people, a lot of the time it's my own failures that I've made in the past. You know, you've got to learn from your failures in investing. And trying to kind of play God over the market is something that will get people absolutely wrecked. Has the Casper team gotten their act together? Yeah, I like the way you put team in inverted commas, because, you know, they say that they don't have a team. But yeah, the tech of Casper's top tier, so it's going to do well regardless of, like, some of the issues that maybe has happened with the team in the past, even though you shouldn't use the word team. You know, I still think it'll do fine. I think it will do fine long term. Shy Dash left, he departed. You know, I don't think that's really an issue anymore. But the big issue is the lack of exchange listings, right? That is the big issue, is the lack of exchange listings has always been the detriment to Casper. But all you can do is just have the long-term vision and maybe hope that one day it gets listed on an exchange. Because out of nowhere it can happen, and we've seen that play out in crypto so many times. And I don't even necessarily think if it does get listed on an exchange that it's a guaranteed bullish event, like I was saying earlier. Quite often these perceived bullish events actually turn out to be sell the news events, because everyone was waiting for that event. But let's get the likes up on the stream, everyone. There is a link in the description to Blowfin, which is the exchange that I personally use. And right now, there is a promo going on, available right now, if I can get my words out. And yeah, there's a campaign in progress, so definitely check it out. If you deposit some USDT, you could potentially get some good rewards. Am I more bullish on Arrow or H-bar for the future? Probably H-bar, but I like both. Too many people are cortisol maxing. Yeah, man. Keeping your stress low is very key. Very, very key. What are my thoughts on Morpho? Partnering with Apollo from Wall Street and buying 9% in supply. I'm bullish on Morpho. I think they're going to do great. You know, I've been going on about Morpho for like well over a year. And the reason why I like Morpho so much is it's basically the de facto borrowing and lending platform for Coinbase. So if you want to borrow through Coinbase, then you go through Morpho. That makes me very bullish on it. The closeness to Coinbase. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Exactly. Always plays out. And quite often, after a sell the news event, there'll be another piece of news a few weeks later that actually pumps. So everyone gets wrecked. It's like max wreckage. Miko, man, you're talking absolute nonsense, bro. Absolute crap. There were multiple alt seasons, so I was right. Like, I will die on this hill. All you have to do Okay, it's really not that simple. All you have to do is go to CoinGlass. Is it CoinGlass? Maybe not. I think it is. Yeah, CoinGlass. All you have to do is go to CoinGlass and go to the alt season index, okay? And there's many different versions of this. I think maybe CoinMarketCap has one. Some other site has one. Alt season index. Okay. Oh, what do you know? We went into an alt season. Oh, what do you know here in January? We went into an alt season. Oh, again here. Alt season. So you're putting your own definition of an alt season above an actual index, which proves an alt season based on actual numbers and data. You're putting your own judgment above an index. You know, and it's like, just because some people didn't make money doesn't mean it wasn't an alt season. People need to actually do their research and understand what an alt season even means. The definition of an alt season is altcoins outperforming Bitcoin for a sustained period of time. That's what an alt season is. It's about the altcoin to Bitcoin ratio. That's what it's all about. If they weren't outperforming Bitcoin, then it wouldn't be an alt season. It would be a Bitcoin season. And we did have 3 alt seasons. Now, they were mini alt seasons, I'll give you that. You can say they were bad alt seasons. You could say they were crap alt seasons. You could say they were shit altcoin seasons. You could say whatever you want about the alt seasons. You can have whatever opinion you want about how good they were, how bad they were. Compare them to 2017. Compare them to 2021. You can say whatever you want about the alt seasons, but you can't say that they didn't happen. You can say that the blow off top alt season never happened, or the banana zone never happened, and I would agree with you. You know, you could say that the euphoric alt season never happened, and I would agree with you. But you can't say there were not periods of time where altcoins consistently outperformed Bitcoin, because there were. There's 3 clear hits on the alt season index. It was literally in the blue here of altcoin season. Here we go. What is an alt season? Okay, this is for you guys who have an inability to understand something very basic. This is what an alt season is. What is an altcoin season? Alt season refers to a period when cryptocurrencies other than Bitcoin, okay, so excluding Bitcoin, Bitcoin isn't an altcoin, just for those who don't know, such as Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, etc., perform exceptionally well. During this time, the price increases of these altcoins may surpass that of Bitcoin, attracting significant attention and capital from investors, okay? So this is their definition of an alt season. And then it goes on to say, relative performance, a key part of an alt season is the performance of Bitcoin with other major altcoins. So the comparison between Bitcoin and altcoins. The market capitalization ratio, the dominance of Bitcoin, so Bitcoin dominance dropping. Trading volume and price volatility, that's another thing. Social media, blah, 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 loads of other stuff. So basically this definition of an alt season is altcoins outperforming Bitcoin and altcoins going up in price. Now that's one definition, right? I would say that is a pretty fair definition of an alt season. I've even heard other people give takes on an alt season saying that altcoins don't even actually need to go up. Altcoins don't even need to go up for it to be an alt season. That's what some people have said. They just need to go up to Bitcoin. So you could have a situation where Bitcoin crashes 50% and altcoins only go down 10%. And technically that's an alt season because they've drastically outperformed Bitcoin. I wouldn't necessarily say that. That's not my take, necessarily. But I've heard that take before. But the top and bottom of it is that an alt season is when altcoins outperform Bitcoin. It doesn't have to be for 12 months. It just has to be for some time. Obviously not a day, but like a good few weeks or whatever. That's what an alt season is. And usually it's coupled with good gains. And there were definitely good gains. I mean, we made what? 24x on Troll in a couple weeks. A 10x in 10 days on Avantis. I mean, we made ridiculous gains. But just because you or someone else didn't make gains doesn't mean it's not an alt season. Maybe it didn't feel like one to you, but it still was an alt season, right? So, I hear a lot of YouTubers spew this narrative of there was no alt season. It's just not true. There was no euphoric alt season. Yes, you can say that. That's the correct way to say it. But to say there was no alt season is just wrong. And if you even look at Ben Cowan's own indexes that he has into the cryptoverse, whatever it's called, his own indexes, I'm pretty sure, said there was an alt season. His own alt season index, I'm pretty sure, said there was an alt season. Don't quote me on it, but I've seen someone shared it to me and said, look at this, into the cryptoverse is saying there's an alt season. Right? So every single altcoin index flashed. 3 times, actually. Now, just because it wasn't the alt season that some people were looking for doesn't invalidate the alt season. People need to stop saying things without any context or backing behind what they're saying. Exactly. People need to back up the stuff they say. Corey says 50k to 97k, then the fall down. Okay, I can't read this, it's too small. 50k to 70k. Man, I'm trying to read. This is tiny. Let me try and zoom in. On my screen, it's tiny. $50k to 97k. Then the floor will fall down 90% drop. Trump will destroy the market soon. Interesting take. So you think there'll be a 90% drop on Bitcoin? Yeah, Solana went to $8. That's crazy. Big recession coming, AI bust, conflict in Middle East, a credit crunch, auto loan. Yeah, so you're just listing all the potential negative catalysts, and you're not giving any, any value to the actual potential bullish catalysts. You're just very one-dimensional. Only looking at the negatives. Which, don't get me wrong, there's certainly negatives at play, but to only focus on the negative, I think is wrong to do. Because you've also got a load of positive arguments that I could list off for you now. So you've got to be balanced with it. I could give you loads of positives right now, okay? Bitcoin basically came down to the 200-week moving average. We just had one of the lowest daily RSIs ever. The fear and greed index has been in extreme fear. Those are some positives. So we got to have the nuance here. How's it going, Dave? Welcome to the stream. YJT99 says, Bitcoin, ETH, HBAR, and Asta are my bags going forward. Solid bags. Yeah, Yeah, also you got the Clarity Act, but the Clarity Act isn't black and white either. There's pros and cons to the Clarity Act. The Clarity Act is not all good. Because the Clarity Act is going to basically ban yield on stablecoins, which is pretty bearish for a lot of projects that rely on stablecoins. So it's all mixed, you know. It's never black and white. Can we go over some NFTs on your radar? Yeah, we'll do that in the voice chat. We'll do that in the Discord. After this stream, I'm going to be going into the Discord. So we'll do that afterwards. We'll do that on the VC. Casper 30 cents bull run target? No, it's not my bull run target necessarily. It's just my my short-term target whenever it breaks out of that trend. That's all it needs to do. Break out of that downtrend, and then I think it'll instantly go to 30 cents. After that, it can go to $1, whatever, right? If it continues going up. I'm just giving you like my target on this particular pattern that it's in. What are my top indicators to look at? So obviously the big moving averages on Bitcoin on the weekly. Those are the key indicators. Like a lot of the other stuff is just kind of added bonuses. But if you have the two major moving averages, the 50 and the 200 on Bitcoin, then you're pretty set, you know, to navigate the market on a macro level. Because it respects these levels so well. Obviously, you've got the fibs, the RSI. I do like the RSI, especially when you get a bullish divergence, like I was saying earlier on in the stream. But yeah, for me, the major indicators are the 50-week and the 200-week. Whenever you lose the 50-week, it's typically a very bearish signal to sell your portfolio. And then whenever you hit the 200-week or even below it, it's usually a very bullish signal to actually go and buy. Do I think we'll get a nice pullback on Tau? So Tau's also another altcoin which is clearly respecting a range, you know? Let me just get rid of this. Clearly respecting a range here. You know, so people will come out and they'll have these crazy remarks like the guy in the chat earlier saying Casper's dead, Tau's dead, stuff like that. It's all nonsense. Because if you look at the chart, it's clearly respecting a range. So there's thousands of investors who are clearly aware of this range, and the big money is clearly keeping it in the range. If they wanted to just kill the coin, they would just make it lose this range, and then it probably just revert back to where all the previous volume is under the range. But it's very evident here that Tau is respecting this range. So there's a chance it doesn't even dump that much, even if Bitcoin goes lower. And that's something I've been saying for a while, is some of the top altcoins, they actually form their lows before Bitcoin. Go check BNB in 2022. When did BNB form its low? It was in June. Bitcoin formed its low in November. Go check Ethereum. Exact same situation on ETH. When did Ethereum form its low? June 2022. So BNB and Ethereum both formed their lows in June 2022. That literally proves the idea that some top altcoins can form lows earlier. Not all of them, right? A lot of them won't, but if Tau can get a nice bounce, even if Bitcoin goes lower, I don't necessarily see it losing this range. I mean, judging off the weekly RSI, it's never really truly bottomed out. Maybe back in 2023 it did, but interesting. Is it a good idea to swing trade the Casper breakout? Depends on your strategy, right? For me, I'm not going to do it, I don't think. Maybe I will with a very small percentage of my portfolio, but I've just got a long-term vision now. Because Bitcoin has basically come down to the 200-week moving average, I now just have the long-term vision. I know that these prices are very cheap, and usually when Bitcoin comes down to its 200-week moving average, you don't see those prices again for sometimes years. So anything I'm buying now, I kind of have the vision to hold it for at least a year or two. At least. And for those of you who are wondering, maybe if you're new to the stream or whatever, these are my top altcoins. These are the altcoins in my portfolio. Right now, I only hold 8 coins. One of them is Bitcoin, and then 7 altcoins. And if you want to see the VIP gem, definitely join the VIP group. There's a link down below. If you use the code BEARMARKET at checkout, I think you'll save, I think it's like 35% off the membership. And you get all sorts of perks being a member. Daily voice chats, 24/7 access to a Discord group where I have team members. I have a technical analyst in there posting TA on demand. So if you have any coins you want to be reviewed in terms of their charts, just instantly message him and he'll give you his thesis on the chart. And he's great with what he does. So definitely join the group, guys. If you're not in there already, you are missing out. Highly, highly recommend it. And guys, there is going to be a huge announcement very soon for bundle members. Huge new perk coming to the bundle. So stay tuned. I think we're going to drop the announcement probably on Thursday. If you're a bundle member already, you probably know a little bit about it, but we're going to drop even more info and kind of give a teaser. So huge, huge new perk coming to the big bundle. For those of you wondering about the bundle, it gives you lifetime VIP, lifetime mentorship as well. So you can DM me at any point. You get one-to-one calling with me as well. Loads of other perks. Tons and tons of perks. Loads of course access as well. So definitely check out the big bundle if you're interested. So Tau really respecting a range. Casper really respecting a range. They might lose the range for a brief period, kind of like if you look at XRP here. Did lose the range for a little bit, but as long as it's not multiple consecutive candles outside of the range, I expect them to keep these ranges, to be honest with you. Because these are such big ranges that they've built of support and resistance. And I know it sounds crazy, guys, but I actually think that this year could end bullish. I know it sounds wild to some people, but I think this year could end bullish. All you have to do is go check the Bitcoin returns by year. Can we find this? This is by quarter. Bitcoin returns history. Why is it not giving us the yearly? Anyway, I don't need to show it to you guys, but basically, last year was the first ever year where Bitcoin printed a red post-halving candle. Post-halving year candle. First ever year it did that. So I'm kind of the belief that this year is probably going to be green. And there's obviously that reason. But also, Bitcoin's never had 2 consecutive red years. Never. It'll be the first time if it does it this time around. So usually it's, 3 green years, 1 red year? That's typically how it is. So if last year ended red, maybe we've got 3 green years to come. But people aren't ready for that right now. People are just all doom and gloom, very bearish. They're not ready for that kind of conversation just yet. O House says, I wish I found you in January of 2025. You would have saved me 50k and 30k in profits. Well, you know, you found me now, so it's all good. It's all good. But definitely, you know, if people followed some of the alerts of this bull run, or the last bull run, whatever you want to call it, if people followed the alerts, man, they would have made a killing. 10x in 10 days on Avantis. I think Sui was up like 7x at one point. Caspo's up like 7x at one point. 24x on Troll. I'm just naming a few. I could get a list out of about 100 coins that pumped crazy for us. And we were selling. That's the key part, right? We were taking profits on the way up. Most people were not doing that. I was cashing out crypto and putting it into property, diversifying. Most people were not even cashing out a penny. And they were up. They might tell you, oh, I wasn't up. They were up. They were up 2 to 5x, but that wasn't enough for them. They were hoping for 10 to 20x because the greed was getting to them. You got to take profits in this game. I don't get why people didn't take profits. It's just greed. That's all it is. If you were buying some of these coins when we were buying them and you weren't taking profits, it's just pure greed. I remember Avantis did a 10x. Someone was up 10x on it and they said, is now a good time to buy more? That's what someone said in the Discord group. I'm not going to name them because that's not what I do. But I kid you not, we were up 10 times on our money on Avantis, and there was a guy asking, is now a good time to double down and buy more? It made me want to hit my head on a wall. Just a pure, ridiculous question. And those types of people are the people who never make money in crypto because they're never happy with what they have. But I want to talk about Tau as well because of the entry that we did get in the group. We got Tau. What was the price we bought it? Here we go. So these are just a couple buys from the group that I did. Let me just pull my screen up. So these are a couple buys I did in the group. One is obviously Solana, $83, and then Tau at $145. Like, we're already up a ton on that buy. You know, you're paying for the group to get high quality buy alerts. That's the main perk. Like, all the other stuff is amazing. Don't get me wrong, the voice chats and the community aspect, but like, I mean, look at that. We're in a bear market, guys, and these are the types of gains we're making. And I haven't dropped like 10 buy alerts on Tau, you know? This is like my heavy buy alert on Tau. This is my heaviest buy. Bought more Potenza Tau at $145, making it 5% of my portfolio. It's just simple, to the point, telling you guys what I'm buying. And if you want to follow along, you can. Don't have to, you're not compelled to. But the track record speaks for itself with the spot buy alerts. Because this is what I do, guys. This is what I do 24/7, is look for opportunities to add to my portfolio. So yeah. Bought Tau at $145. I think that my average is maybe like $150, something like that. I don't know what my average is exactly, but it's super low. And we're already up, what, 40% on Tau from the buy we did just recently. You know, there's a chance that we actually pulled off calling the top on Bitcoin and maybe even buying the bottom on a ton of these alts. Yeah, it's not the time to celebrate just yet. You know, it's still quite early. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, but there is a chance that we sold super high and bought super low. And if that's the case, then, you know, people are going to have generational wealth in my group. Guaranteed. Apex is up 40% on Tau. That's great. How long do I think the bear market will last? Years? No, I don't think it will last years. It depends if you're talking about the altcoin bear market or Bitcoin, because arguably the altcoins have been in a bear market for years if you look at something like others. If you look at the others chart, that doesn't look like a bull run, right? Let's just put it on the 2 week and we'll show you what I mean. Let's take off the... we'll keep the RSI just because it gives good context. So, look at this. Does that look like a major bull run to you? I can see the bull run when I look at this. I can see it clearly. It's this. That's the bull run. 7,000% move. That is your bull run right there. What we've done in the last couple years is not a bull run. Now, maybe it's not a bear market, but it's certainly not a bull market. It's just consolidation. It's just sideways. Now, the funny thing is, we did have 3 altcoin seasons within this. 3 kind of tamed altcoin seasons within this. But this is like the parabolic blow off top altcoin season that people were hoping for. Now, this is the bull market. That's the kind of bull market move that we wanted, but we didn't get it, obviously. Now, I believe we will get it, but it just wasn't to be in 2025, and I always told people that this was not going to be the year of a parabolic blow off top. You know, my target on Bitcoin was always 117 to 130. That was always my range. Yeah, I was going on about that all of 2025. That I'm not expecting 200k. All the YouTubers, everyone on X, all saying 200k, 200k, 200k. I did not believe that would be the case. Next bull run, yes. I believe we'll smash through 200k in the next bull run. But it wasn't to be in 2025. Now, if we look at the others chart, I mean, look at the RSI. Constantly making lower highs on others. Constantly making lower highs. So, it just never had that blow off top. Others went to 96, is that, on the 2 week RSI in 2021. The highest it went all of this bull run was 80. 82. And in September, October, when we were topping out on Bitcoin, it was down in the 50s. See that? So yeah, we didn't have the parabolic blow off top. I believe that we will have it next cycle. And a common kind of misconception I'm seeing, or a common logical fallacy, is that just because we didn't have it in 2025 does not mean that we'll never have it again. I'm seeing so many people say this. 2025 was a bad bull market, therefore we won't have another bull market that's good. And that's just flawed logic, in my opinion. Very flawed logic. In fact, it makes me think the next bull market will be even better than what we're used to. It could be insane, because you've got all those years of suppressed price action. That means when it's finally let out, it's just gonna instantly propel up. Others.d looks bullish. Let's take a look. Yeah, it does. Others dominance. This is what you really want. So if you're an altcoin investor, you really want to be looking at others. This is what you want to be looking at, because this is like the best index to look at for altcoins. Because the problem with Total 3 that a lot of people look at is that Total 3 includes stablecoins. It includes USDT, USDC, and they take up a large part of the index, whereas others is outside of the top 10, so it doesn't include those major stablecoins. But yeah, looks quite bullish. No major breakout sign just yet, but it does look quite bullish. $40,000 bottom, says Sham. Yeah, 40K definitely has major support. You know, it's a big level. If we look at Bitcoin and we go on the weekly, there is a major level at $40,000. Actually, it's a little bit lower. It's 39,000, but still, we'll call it 40K just for the purposes of this. But you can see very clearly, this is like my buy range on Bitcoin, the big red box. That's kind of my buy zone on BTC. So anywhere in that box for me is a buy. Now the reason why 40K makes sense is because it's a 786 fib. It's the 786 fib. And usually, in a bear market year, in a midterm year, Bitcoin drops to the 786 fib, and usually a little bit lower, actually. Now, obviously, diminishing returns is a factor, so maybe it doesn't drop as low as it usually does. But I'm not denying that there's certainly a big amount of support around the 40K region. 39 to 45K even, right? You got this kind of cluster, sideways cluster here. And we know what Bitcoin likes to do. It likes to come down to where all the volume is. Any major asset likes to do it. Gold likes to do it. Silver likes to do it. The S&P 500 likes to do it. Any major asset likes to come down to where all the volume is. All the previous price history. Those big clusters of price action is where it's going to come down to. Now, I'm not arguing we're going to go that low. I want to be very clear. But I see the possibility. I see the argument for it. But I also think there's a major level where we are now, which is the two highs of 2021 and all of that price action and all of 2024's sideways price action. So there's a major amount of support all around those levels. And I've circled them on the screen here. You can see loads of price history there and very important price history. So a 40K bottom would be like my bear case. My bull case would be that the bottom is in. My bear case would be 40K. Most likely for me, the bottom's probably going to be like 55, 58, something like that, 57. I think we go a little bit lower. If I'm being completely honest with my thought process right now, I think we go slightly lower, but not a lot lower. And what's going to happen is if we do go slightly lower, all the doomers are going to start saying, we're going to 30K, we're going to 30K, I told you so. And then we don't end up going that low and they will get wrecked. And probably what happens is we make a slight lower low, we get a bullish divergence, and then we bounce. Okay? That's what I think happens. I mean, look at what happened here. Let's go to the very bottom of 2022. And we'll see, since we're on this topic, we'll see exactly what happened. So, we put in a bottom. We ranged for a bit. Then FTX happened, and we put in another bottom. Now, that second bottom was slightly lower. The first bottom was at 17.5K. The second bottom was at 15.4K. So a little bit lower. In the grand scheme of things, you're not going to be too bothered if you bought at 17K or if you bought at 15K, right? Not a big difference, let's be real. But what you can see is it created a massive bullish divergence. Now, some people, when they're doing a bullish div, they go from the wicks, but let's just go from the actual candle body. You can see there was a huge bullish divergence created. Let me just show you the RSI. Get this comment out the way. See that? Multi-month bullish div. That's actually bullish. Like, that's what you want to see in a bottoming structure, is that bullish divergence created. If that was the bottom there, you know, I wouldn't trust that to be the bottom, because you usually do get that bullish divergence. So that's why right now there's still a lot of people on sideline capital, because they're waiting for that kind of bottoming signal first before buying. Once you get that, then they'll all start jumping in, I believe. And that's when you'll see more of a sustained rally and bigger volume come into the market. How many coins should someone have with less than $10,000? So I don't think the amount of money you invest in really makes a big difference on how many coins you should have. Like, the principle should be the same regardless. But I would say somewhere between 6 to 10 projects is the ideal range for most people. If you're full-time crypto, you can go closer to the 10. If you're not full-time crypto, then I'd say closer to the 6. But somewhere in that range for me is the ideal range. And if you or anyone else wants to discuss your portfolio with me, you can get on a call with me one-to-one if you join the bundle. It is one of the perks. So I would recommend that for anyone who wants to speak to me one-on-one about your portfolio. And there is a discount code available on it. Apex's target is 45K, so kind of in between 40 and 50, you're thinking. Okay? You know, what's interesting is whatever like everyone's saying the bottom will be, quite often the bottom is a bit higher. Because you need a lot of people to actually miss the bottom, so then they buy back in when we go higher. And that's what happened down at $15,000. Everyone was saying the bottom would be like 10K or 13K. I remember they were the kind of main ranges people were looking at, was 13 to 10K. Everyone was like adamant that that would be the bottom on YouTube. I was saying, look, we could go down to 13, but I'm going to be buying here anyway at 15 just because of how cheap these prices are. I'm not going to ignore this. I was being very transparent on my channel at the time, just saying, look, yeah, we could go down to 13, but I'm buying here anyway because this is cheap. And I'm not going to be one of these delusional people who doesn't buy just because your target hasn't been hit, right? Like your absolute bottom target hasn't been hit. That's insanity to do that. You should be seeing very cheap prices and buying, even if you don't believe the bottom is in. So Apex, who is a very active member in my group, Bren, he's buying right now. Or he was buying the other day when we were cheap, right? When I was buying. Tau at 145, Asta super cheap. He was buying then. But he still thinks the bottom is going to be lower than where it is so far, or where it's been so far. He still thinks we're going to go lower. He thinks we're going to 45K. Yet he's still buying now. Because you've got to humble yourself and realize that yes, we could go lower, but these are also very cheap prices, therefore I'm going to buy. And that is the sign for me of a very intelligent investor. Not someone who's putting all their eggs in one basket. They're going all in on one level. And there's an awful lot of people who are waiting for 40K, waiting for 30K before they start deploying. What if that doesn't happen? You need a strategy. Otherwise, you are probably just going to turn emotional and end up buying into a pump. You're going to be blinded by that FOMO, which will kick in, by the way. We will have FOMO again in this market. People will start just aping in blindly once it starts to rally. The biggest amounts of FOMO are caused after a major dump, because people realize, oh, we might not see these prices ever again. I need to get in. I need to jump in fast. Buy, buy, buy. It's always after a major dump when the FOMO really starts to kick in. And you can actually see, if you look at this chart, where did the FOMO really start to kick in, guys? I think the real FOMO started to kick in here. That was where the real FOMO started to kick in. People going, okay, that is the bottom. I missed it. I'm going to buy now. That is what that is. That's a collective agreement with everyone that the bottom is in. We need to buy right now. Otherwise, it's going to be too late. Fear of missing out. Get the likes up, 100%. Get the likes up. Yeah, you get your toes wet, you know, or your feet wet, whatever you want to call it. One of my top gaming coins. Top gaming coins. I would say Gunzilla Games, #1. That's the best one. In terms of like actual quality, that's #1 for gaming. I would say Beam is decent. Immutable X is decent. But Gunzilla Games is my favorite, I gotta be honest with you. I think Gala might even have a comeback, you know? But if I'm gonna go for a gaming coin, I'm going for Guns. But let's have a little look at some gaming coins. Let's see. Category. GameFi. What have I got setting on? Coinbase, Binance, so we don't want that. I've got some presets. I don't know what I've got. So category, GameFi, ecosystem, that must be it. Okay, so Sandbox, no. Axie Infinity, no. Gala, potential. It's okay. Decentralized, no. Undeeds Games. Let's take a look at this one. What are the listings like? Mexi, KuCoin. Pretty high market cap for this one. Considering the listings are pretty average. Oh, chart looks horrible. Man, what's happening with this? That chart looks horrible. So, based off the chart, I probably avoid this one. Rollbit. It's in the gambling sector, so it's kind of sketchy. But maybe it'll do well. Beam, yeah, I like Beam. So honestly, there's not that many good gaming coins. Like, either they're dead, their charts look completely destroyed, or the games are just straight up terrible, and there's like no appeal to them. So like, if I'm gonna go for a gaming coin, it's probably Guns, Immutable X, or Beam. Like, they're kind of the three I'd narrow it down to. But I don't own any gaming coins at the moment. But on the voice chat after this call, we'll take a look at some. I don't know if you'll be able to join the voice chat, Bren, but I'll be hopping on the voice chat straight after this stream. And we'll take a look. So what's everyone's highest conviction plays? Let me know in the chat. What are your highest conviction plays? Obviously, I've shown you mine. Bezel says, hi Archie, are you considering Monad and Zama? Why not these two? looks like a blue chip coin for the next bull run. Most old alts won't pump again. Yeah, there's some truth in that. So Monad's okay. I kind of like Monad. I don't mind it at all. Market cap 200 million, very low. And you think about how much this was hyped up, the market cap's very low. And I'm surprised Monad hasn't dumped more than it has. Like, usually when these coins have big launches right at the end of the bull run, usually they absolutely get destroyed. Like XPL, ICP. Usually they go down like 90% plus. So Monad's actually held up surprisingly well. So I'm open to Monad. I need to do some more research. Check for a potential good buy zone. And then Zama, 43 mil market cap on Coinbase and Binance. FDV is very high. I'd have to check the dilution on this one. Overall chart seems fine. It did just launch. Build applications on any blockchain. So it seems okay. But if I was going to pick one out of the two, it'd probably be Monad. But I like the fact this one's listed on Binance and Coinbase with a very low market cap. I just have to check up on the dilution because that FDV is pretty high. What are my thoughts on Ethereum right now? I like it. Especially if it goes around that 1,700 region. I think it's really attractive around that region. But this is my chart on Ethereum. Kind of looks similar to Tau, right? Like a lot of the alts look like this. Yeah, Ethereum looks fine. You could have a bit of a scam wick down like what we've seen in the past and then regain the range. But honestly, anywhere below $2,000 on ETH, it's a steal. You're getting a great price. All right, Bren will be on the voice chat. So I'm going to be joining the voice chat straight after this stream in the Discord. Casper's high conviction? Yeah, Casper's high conviction. Casper's high conviction, Sui, Tau, Asta, XPL, say. I mean, look, some of these I definitely go more heavy in than others, all right? Bitcoin, yeah, super heavy. Solana, very heavy. That's even but 5 ticks for Bitcoin, okay? Sui, you can go pretty heavy in Sui, but not as heavy as Sol and Bitcoin, I'd say. Casper, I wouldn't go really heavy in it, but I get a good bag. Same with Tau. Same with Asta. And then Say and XPL are kind of like, guys, you just shouldn't put a lot into these. Like, I've gone quite heavy into XPL, but I'm willing to lose a lot of what I've put in, right? I just have this feeling that XPL is going to be like one of these genius calls in the future. Like, I could be completely wrong on it and get wrecked. But I just have the feeling that XPL is going to be one of those plays that we look back at and it's done like a 10x plus from the entry we got. Just because of how undervalued it is at the moment and the on-chain metrics. Doc's conviction plays are Casper, Clearpool, Hyperliquid, Rose, Virtuals, and Arrow. Which one's better to buy, Solana or ETH? Solana for gains and future prosperity, and Ethereum for more stability. And Ethereum's more spread, right? It's more widespread. It covers more sectors than Solana. Solana, unfortunately, is still quite heavily reliant on meme coins for its volume. Whereas Ethereum has other avenues bringing in a lot of the attraction. Morpho's a great buy. Yeah, I want Morpho cheaper, bro. It's annoying that it's starting to pump. I want it cheaper. Maybe I'm just nickel and diming it and being a bit greedy. But man, I want Morpho cheap. And I'm not getting it. I'm getting it at the same prices that we bought it during 2025 or 2024, whenever it was that we bought it. Like, we were buying Morpho at like $1.10, I think it was, right? In the Discord group. Back in the day before it went on a real good run. It's like, it just feels wrong buying it at the same price as I was buying it at in a bull run. Morpho is one of those coins that has held up really, really well. You got to give it credit where it's due. It really has held up well. I mean, besides the 10-10 wick, which is insane. Besides that, I mean, it's been amazing. And this is one of those coins that, like, hasn't ever really had a parabolic run. So when the train does hit, you know, when the train does leave the station, I think it's going to be insane what this thing does. Because the train has never left the station for it. It's just always been pretty sideways, Morpho. It's never done anything insane. So when you see these coins that just go sideways all year, whenever they do start to pump, it's just like a god candle. We witnessed that with XMR. Apologies. Man, my throat's a bit weird today. Yeah, Morpho's great. Honestly, it's a top 10 project for me. Not in terms of market cap, but in terms of like my favorite projects. Honestly, in terms of market cap, Morpho has insane potential. I mean, if you look at where Arve's gone to in the past, I think Morpho can give Arve a good run for its money in the next few years. I mean, let's check market cap of. That's a 10x. So if Morpho goes to Arve's all-time high market cap, that's a 10x. I think it'll do that. I think it'll do that in the next couple years for sure. It sounds like you have a sore throat. A lot of people have been getting that lately, bro. You know what it is, bro? I was skiing, and it's super cold, so it like just dries up all of your sinuses or whatever. I'm not actually ill. Like, I very rarely get ill, fortunately. But yeah, it's what happens when you go in the cold, when you're used to the heat in Dubai. Arve's getting an ETF. They've been building like crazy. What do I think of H-bar? I'm very bullish on H-bar. I just don't hold it. You know, I'm bullish on a lot of coins. I just can't hold all of them, right? But if the price is right, then I'll buy it. But it's just still kind of like, it's not cheap enough for me to buy it. And maybe that's me just being greedy. But it's still only like a 2 or 3x back to where it was in July. And to its all-time high, it's only like a 2x. So H-bar is only down like 2x from where it was when Bitcoin made an all-time high. Not H-bar, when Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin made an all-time high at 126, H-bar was only 2x higher than where it is right now. That's not a crazy discount, you know? I'd want it a lot cheaper, but maybe I'm not going to get it. But when I zoom out and look at H-bar, it does seem like it's probably going to pull back to where all that volume is. which is down here, right? Bit of a weird chart, H-bar. Never had a pump in October. Topped out in July, and since then it was just in a downtrend. Bit of a weird chart. And then it had that major run. November 2024. Just before Trump got elected, it had that crazy run. Or just after Trump got elected was that, yeah. Just after. But, you know, there's like a lot of volume down here. Big trading range of support. So it almost makes me think at some point it's just going to pull back to where it was before that major God candle. It's just a lesson for you guys in general. Whenever you see coins make these crazy God candles, usually they do end up back down to where it started. So never chase these God candles. They're not sustainable. But guys, I am going to wrap up the live stream here. Definitely check out the VIP group link down below for the voice chat that we're going to go on, and you'll get all my real-time buy alerts. We have a very good track record in the group, like you can see. Just a buy alert I did very recently on Tau. We're already up 40% or whatever it is on that. Solana, I was buying at $83. So, you're getting top-tier buy alerts, guys. And then this Solana buy as well I did here. $77 buy on Sol. Or I bought it at $77. I didn't just throw $77 in. But I went heavy on that buy as well. So definitely join up the VIP. There's a link down below. You'll get my real-time buy alerts. You'll get Discord access, voice chat access. And if you want an exchange to trade on as well, check out Blowfin. There's a link down below. It's potential free money, right? Just sign up to the exchange, put some USDT in, and you'll potentially get some good sign-up rewards. So check that out. All the information's in the description. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the VIP voice chat in about